Hey, it's Cheris, and I am 40 days to 50. This is journal entry number 14, and I'm today. What I think is important to put in the journal is the space between the circumstances of the past year and relative to your whole life versus like over identifying or over being overly personalizing the experiences of this past year. It's been a lot to navigate. I think a lot of people have had a 24 for the books, a year for the books. For me, my navigating some career effects, okay, professional effects, started with the omen that I did not get a holiday break last year. I worked Christmas, I worked Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, New Year's. I worked every single day. I had clients calling me at 2 a.m. New Year's Day. I had clients calling me at 2 p.m. New Year's Eve. It was just incessant and relentless. And that was the joy of it, because we did get to the Super Bowl, and that was like a big deal for us and our clients, and that was a win. But then there were just all these other sort of relentless layers of what do I want to call it? Yeah, I'm just calling it circumstances. Circumstances that I don't want to be overly identified with when I think about my life. I don't want to be overly identified with the things that sort of happened to me or happened this year, right? And anyway, that led me to kind of go to this little saying actually that I used to have on my calendar, and it would say, "Don't let the urgent overshadow the important." Don't let the urgent overshadow the important would pop up on my calendar on payday ever since I got my very first like full-time salaried great benefits job, right? And so I was going to tell you guys about that. Every time I try to tell this story, I get a little emotional. So this is take 2, all right? But here it is. Couldn't find a job, so I was working for a temp agency, and I had some projects that lasted like a week or 2 weeks, and somebody was on vacation, so you knew that you needed to work their vacation. The assistant was on vacation, work for 2 weeks, and most of this is like clerical, right? And then my handler calls me one day, and he's like, "Hey, this is just a one-day assignment. I know how you feel about short term, but can you please do this for me? This company has asked for like 5 people to just come in and hammer it out in one day." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, fine." So I go to a one-day temp assignment in like 1998. And I get there, and again, there are 5 of us. There's no delineation between the 5 women. It's just like Dennis and Myra Monk were the owners of the company, and it was their second day owning the company. So they were going through all the historical boxes, old school real files of boxes, moving it from one office to the other, going through the finance boxes, going through the data boxes, going through like all the client, management boxes, all this different stuff. And we were just literally filing, moving, and organizing. And at some point, Myra says, "Hey, can one of you type?" It's me, "Can you please type out the information on this sheet of paper? Dennis wants this information, in a soft copy. Can you type this out for him? He may want to change something." So just type it out and save it. And then, because we only have this hard copy. So I look at it and I go, "Sure." And I sit down with sort of some blind naivety, because I had never made a chart before. Well, she didn't actually ask me to make the chart. She just wanted the information, but I didn't know that. There was a little confusion. But all I did was open Microsoft Word. I choose insert. Right there in the insert menu is insert chart. I type in the information. I print it out. The day's over. I go to the car. Okay. The car is a 1974 Maverick. Shout out Shaniqua, because we loved that car. It was her car, and this is just my life that I had to borrow the hoopty to go to work. But here's how it worked. I had to keep radiator fluid in the trunk of the car. So having had the car sit all day, I had to go in the trunk and get this liquid, then open the hood and like refill, because it was like leaking the fluid all day. So you had to refill it before you like could drive it. And after you refill it, then turn it on, let it heat up, and then be able to drive away. So I like do my little get the car moving ritual. I get in, and then here comes Myra. Like, Myra Monk is holding the sheet of paper that I had left on her desk, and she's running out screaming, "Did you do this? Wait, did you do this? Did you do this?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I did something wrong, because I've never done a chart before. I don't know, And she says, or maybe I didn't save it right because I knew I had printed out. It looked exactly like the other one. I was like, oh, maybe I made a typo. I don't know. But I like have to crank the window down, and it was like, yes, ma'am, And Maya was like, did you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I did that. She's like, you have to come back tomorrow. And like I said, there's no way I just can't tell the story without the emotion of gratitude for Myra and Dennis Monk, because she brought me back that day, the next day, and totally changed the course of my life because they invested in me. So it was a direct mail house. The clients were Kaiser, Verizon at the time, which was like the number one. I mean, whatever the world says today, Verizon was that thing. Verizon, I can't even remember all, but like Fortune 100 client list, okay? And they did the direct mail. And what they did was send me to classes with AOL, which is why I'll always have an AOL email. Like, sure, it's a joke on the internet that you're telling your age, how old you are. And I'm like, okay. I worked on the AOL campaign. I will always have an AOL email. So anyway, I went to all these trainings, Xerox, IBM, and learned how to move clients from their direct mail, introducing email, introducing pop-up banner advertising, introducing this sort of what was then this burgeoning internet world for marketing. So we were pioneers, we were front runners, and Dennis and Myra invested in me, sent me to all these workshops, sent me to all these trainings, and I would take my notes and just sort of proactively created these binders to where I ended up overtraining for the whole company, to where whatever I learned, I would come back and do this is what I learned this week, guys, this is what we do. And then I started making those presentations to clients, and it honed my presentation skills, and it honed my leadership skills. Cause again, I was doing training for the workers who actually were there before I came as a temp. Right. And then I had to learn the direct mail business. So I was learning the direct mail business, learning this burgeoning digital space, and then being a subject matter expert in a world where there were very few. Right. And Dennis and Myra made that possible for me. And what's really sort of, I don't want this time to get away from me, but what's really interesting, I think, about the story, especially right now, is that 6 months into that job, Dennis and Myra lost the business, and the bank came in and took over the business. And the day that the bank came in, so I have not talked to Dennis or Myra since the day before the bank took over, okay? The day the bank comes over, I'm pretty sure Rocco was over the bank. He was a character. He's great. Anyway, he comes in, he says, look, if you are not on the payroll full-time, we're not doing business like this anymore. All these temps have to go. All these contractors have to go. Get them out of here. Well, lo and behold, on my desk from the night before, I had my offer letter. And so I had been ushered in on the list for full-time employee with benefits and a raise. And there's no way I can tell the story without emotion, because I've tried this 2 times already. And this is what it is, okay? Thank you, Dennis and Myra. And I think if I could give me a second, I'll explain that the emotion is not just the gratitude for Dennis and Myra. It's the gratitude for divine intervention in my life that would put me on paths to just not know how to insert a chart, and it changed my whole trajectory of my career. But also the fact that these circumstantial things of the past year are not going to be the limit of me. They're not going to be the sort of end of the story. The story is already bigger and already richer than anything that happened in the past 12 months. It's just a fuller, bigger story. And I never can get away from this gratitude. This is just where I resonate with understanding how all these things work in my life, and how I look forward to them continuing to work, because I do need divine intervention to come in and create some navigation in this next year's professional endeavors, of which I have many. So please, divine intervention, come in and create and build and be, and let me get out of the way. That's what I'm gonna say about that. So this is journal entry number 14, emotion and all, for 40 days to 50. Thank you for listening.